Hey everyone, ready to jump into a topic that might just change how you look at your favorite movies and shows?
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
It is. Today we're diving deep into predictive programming, exploring some seriously fascinating examples from pop culture that you sent us.
It's wild to think that the entertainment we love could be subtly hinting at the future, isn't it?
I know, I was a total skeptic at first, but the more I've learned about predictive programming, the more I find myself thinking, hold on, is there something more to this?
Right.
So before we get into those mind-blowing examples, can you break down the core concept of predictive programming? What's the basic idea?
Well, at its core, predictive programming suggests that when we're repeatedly exposed to certain ideas, especially through movies, TV, even music, our minds start to become desensitized to them.
Like we get used to them.
Exactly. It's almost like we're being pre-programmed, so when those ideas pop up in real life, we're less shocked, more accepting.
So it's not necessarily about predicting specific events, right? More about shaping how we react to certain trends or changes, like getting us used to the idea of something.
Yeah, even if that something might not be in our best interests.
Okay, now that's where things get really interesting, because there are some pretty compelling examples from popular culture that make you wonder, coincidence or something more?
Absolutely.
I mean, come on, we have to start with the big one, the one everyone's talking about, The
Yeah.
Simpsons and that crazy prediction about Donald Trump's presidency.
Oh, yeah, can't skip that one. That episode, Bart to the Future, aired way back in 2000, right?
Right.
And showed Lisa Simpson as president
Can I say?
inheriting a total budget crisis from, you guessed it, President Trump.
It gives me chills every time. It's played for laughs
Yeah.
back then, but looking back, it's eerily accurate, especially the Trump's focus on the economy during his campaign. Makes you wonder what was going on in the writer's room. Was it a random joke? A subtle commentary on the political climate back then?
Hmm. Or did they tap into something deeper?
Right, like they glimpsed a potential future and planted that seed in our minds.
Spooky, right. Some might say it's pure chance. But it's hard to shake that feeling that maybe, just maybe, they were onto something.
Okay, so maybe the Simpsons writers are secret time travelers. But what about other examples? I'm thinking Back to the Future Part 2, 1989, right?
Yep.
Gave us a glimpse into 2015 that, while not totally accurate, got some things right, like really right.
Definitely.
Video calls, flat screen TVs, even wearable tech that looks a lot like today's smartwatches.
It's wild.
Maybe they weren't predicting specific events, but they definitely tapped into emerging tech trends and extrapolated them into a future that, in some ways, is our present.
For sure.
Is like they held up this mirror to society, showing us where our fascination with technology could lead.
And for those of us who grew up on those movies, it's almost like we've been subconsciously prepped to accept these advancements as, like, destiny.
Exactly. And that's a key point. Predictive programming isn't about controlling us, is it? It's more about subtly shaping how we see what's possible.
Yeah.
What's acceptable, what's normal, even what we want.
It really is.
Okay, but let's get a little deeper, a little more philosophical here. What about movies like The Matrix?
Oh, good one.
Came out in '99.
Yeah.
But those themes of virtual reality, AI, the nature of reality, they feel more relevant now than ever before, given the crazy advancements we're seeing in those fields.
The Matrix is so interesting. It wasn't just cool effects in action. It made you think about the nature of consciousness, right? The potential dangers of technology, the very fabric of reality.
And it's like they planted those seeds of questioning reality all those years ago.
Mm.
And now, with tech catching up, those seeds are starting to sprout.
Definitely.
I mean, think about the conversations we're having today about the metaverse, AI, even simulated reality.
right.
Almost like the Matrix prepped us for these discussions.
Made us more open to them.
Exactly. And that's what's so compelling about predictive programming.
Yeah.
Even if we can't definitively say, yes, this is happening, it makes you stop and think, are we just reacting to these tech advancements as they come?
Or have we been subconsciously primed to embrace them?
To see them as the next step in our evolution. It's a question worth asking, especially considering how much our relationship with tech has changed since The Matrix. And it makes me wonder, does this go beyond movies and TV? Could music play a role in this whole predictive programming thing?
Absolutely. Think about how powerful lyrics can be.
Yeah.
They can reflect our anxieties as a society.
Tap into our deepest fears, our desires.
Sometimes even foreshadow future trends.
Like Green Day's American Idiot, released in 2004.
Right.
It was this scathing critique of political apathy, media manipulation, the erosion of individual thought. Do you see any connection between those themes and the kind of anxiety we see today, especially with the rise of social media, concerns about misinformation?
You can't ignore the parallels. American Idiot captured this feeling of disillusionment and of frustration that was bubbling under the surface of American society back then. And while it was rooted in the early 2000s, it's kind of scary how relevant it feels today.
It's like a time capsule of anxieties. And it makes you wonder, did American Idiot just reflect the social and political climate of its time?
Or did it actually play a role in shaping the anxieties and the conversations we're having today?
Whoa. Okay, so we have all these examples that make you go, But how does this predictive programming thing actually work on us psychologically? What's going on in our minds when we're repeatedly exposed to these ideas through entertainment?
It's all about desensitization. Think about it this way. You're watching a movie with a violent scene.
Okay.
The first time you see it, you might be shocked, disturbed, even grossed out. But keep watching similar scenes over and over again, and that initial shock starts to fade. You become less sensitive to it, more accepting of it as just part of what you see on screen.
So the more we see something, even if it's bad or disturbing, the less impact it has on us.
Yep. And that's the core idea behind predictive programming. By repeatedly exposing us to these themes, violence, dystopian futures, technology taking over the theory is that we become less sensitive to them, more likely to accept them as possible realities.
So it's not about brainwashing us into believing that specific things will happen. It's more about shaping our reactions to them, if they happen.
Exactly. It's all about conditioning, getting us to accept certain outcomes as plausible, maybe even inevitable. Like, remember that analogy of the frog in a pot of water? If you slowly turn up the heat, the frog won't even realize it's being cooked until it's too late.
Okay, that's kind of disturbing. But it does make sense. It brings up some pretty big questions about how media can shape how we see the world.
For sure. It's why being media literate is so important today. We need to be aware of the messages we're taking in and how they might be affecting our thoughts, our beliefs, even our actions. Makes you wonder, don't you think? Like, are we all just pawns in some grand scheme?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Living in this massive simulation, someone else pulling the strings.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's not go down that rabbit hole just yet.
Okay, fair enough. But just for fun, let's say there is some level of predictive programming going on, hypothetically. What would be the motive? Why would someone want to subtly influence us through entertainment?
That's when things get really speculative, but it's a good question to ask. Some people believe it's all about normalizing agendas, political agendas, social agendas, technological agendas, you name it.
Make it easier for the public to swallow.
Exactly. Soften the blow of change. Introduce those ideas through movies, TV, music, so that when those changes actually happen in the real world, we're less likely to put up a fight.
So it's like slowly drip feeding us these ideas over time
Yeah.
until they become, just part of life? Normal?
Yep. Subtly shaping our expectations of the future, even if that future isn't necessarily good for everyone. Some also say it's about preparing us for what might be coming, even if it's bad.
Okay, now that's a bit creepy.
I know, right? It's why we have to be so careful about what we're consuming, how we're thinking about things. We can't just blindly accept everything we see and hear.
Yeah, we need to be thinking critically, asking questions. But here's another question. If predictive programming is happening, does it always have to be for bad reasons? Could it ever be for good?
That's an interesting thought. Some people argue that even dystopian stories can serve as warnings, like cautionary tales.
So we can make better choices today, avoid those potential futures.
Exactly. It's like showing us a reflection of ourselves, of society, and saying, hey, if we keep going down this path, this is where we'll end up. Is this what we really want?
Yeah, but as you said earlier, it's a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know if a story is genuinely trying to do good?
Right.
Versus manipulating us into accepting something that's already been decided for us.
That's the hard part. That's why being media literate is so crucial. We have to be able to break down these narratives, understand the perspectives of the people creating them, their motivations,
Right.
and come to our own conclusions about what they're trying to say.
So if we want to be more media literate, what can we do? What are some steps we can take to be more aware of all this when we're enjoying our favorite movies and shows?
The most important thing is to be mindful. Pay attention. Notice those recurring themes, symbols, narratives you see popping up across different forms of entertainment. Ask yourself some questions like, what's the message here? Who benefits from this message? How might this be affecting me?
So it's not about getting all paranoid and rejecting all entertainment.
Right.
It's more about engaging with it in a more thoughtful way. a more critical way.
Exactly. It's realizing that entertainment isn't just mindless